G'day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the Zenkai for the red Goku Rose and what equipment I am using on him currently in my competitive PvP team. So obviously this will differ per person, not everyone has to follow the exact same build. I think overall his Zenkai was okay. I do think it didn't really bring him up to the speed of the meta. He's an okay bench option at the end of the day, but I think, there's still some usability in him. There are some interesting factors around him that I think could definitely make him a usable and interesting unit. I don't want to say that he's super duper limited, although I don't think he's necessarily a game-breaking Zenkai. I think the days of sparking units, getting game-breaking Zenkais, that happen and make them look really, really solid, I think those are finished. But I think, for the most part, this Goku Black, I think he got a decent, Zenkai. So overall, in terms of abilities, so main ability, he draws the ultimate arts card, God Slicer, Palm of Ashes, restores his own health by 20, ki by 30, nullifies unfavorable elements, all pretty standard stuff. Nothing too crazy. When you look at these, this main ability, it's kind of like your cookie cutter main ability now for like most units, I think, in the game. Like most of them have the same type of kind of functionality, which is cool, but it's also just it's like standard gameplay. So then in terms of his unique abilities, we'll talk about that just now, but in terms of his main attacks, he's got a strike card, blast, nothing too crazy, no special effects there. His special move, violent fierce God Slicer, deals massive explode damage and restores his own vanishing gauge by 60% on hit, which is decent, and inflicts a strong bleed. Slicer Dance gives 20% to his damage inflicted, reduces his art card cost count for 15 timer counts, and then his ultimate skill, God Slicer Palm of Ashes, deals massive impact damage, increases the ultimate damage and nullifies health restoration effects, which is nice. Obviously kind of like a babyer version of the purple Goku Black or Super Saiyan Rose. Then in terms of his unique abilities, he's got the Rose Colored Super Saiyan, which applies the following effects to self based on his own remaining health when this character enters the battlefield. So if it's 75% or more, gets 30% to damage inflicted and restores ki by 20. And if your health is below 75%, 40% to damage inflicted, art card draw speed gets increased and restores ki. So nothing too crazy there. Divine Punishment served. When the battle starts, he inflicts all enemies with an attribute downgrade plus 10% to damage received 3 times when the battle starts. He'll also randomly destroy one enemy's card when he evades an attack with a vanishing step and does damage reduction as well. So that is his one super helpful mechanic. I think card destruction is always something that's super helpful. I just think his isn't so apparent that it's super easy to use. So it is pretty much that way. Then he's got Exquisite Evolution. The following effects occur when the character is switched to standby. Restoration of ally ki by 20. Inflicts enemies with attribute downgrade plus 5 to all arts card costs. And inflicts enemy with the attribute downgrade minus 50% to health recovery, which is pretty decent. And then Time to Exterminate, which is his final one, which is just 30% to strike damage, reduction of damage by 20%, and 40% to ki recovery. Like I said, nothing too crazy. One thing I will admit, this guy can do decent damage to yellow units still. Like he can do some very decent damage to yellow units, like very solid damage to yellow units, not to yellow units, which is good. I think it's always good to have, at least if you're gonna have a red unit, have them at least be able to kill or take out yellow units. Like if you're gonna have a red unit and they can't even take out yellow units, then it's probably not the unit that you want to yeah, it's not probably not the unit that you want to run in your team. At least, from my perspective, I think it's pretty silly if you can't run a yellow unit. So we get a forfeit in the first match. I think that guy just decided it wasn't worth trying to recover from the start, which, is fine. It's really no problem. Don't really think Goku Rose did anything special there in terms of performance. But yeah, with these bench sparkings, it's always difficult to tell. Like, obviously, one nice thing I will say about his Zenkai ability. So his Zenkai ability, element red, powerful opponent, is pretty decent. Yeah, the powerful opponent category's got some good red units. You've got half corrupted Zamasu, you've got a Mega Shenron, you've got the Android 17 and 18, you've got Final Form Cooler. The big problem is obviously he's a God Key unit, so the only real one that's going to be benefiting big time is half corrupted Fusion Zamasu. He'll benefit a lot from the boost, and he just recently got his plat, so it is at least an interesting combination to potentially run to get some really, I want to say, interesting combos to kind of run together, I think. But again, obviously it is difficult to say whether it's like the best way to take something on, of course. But I think for the most part, like, I think he's at least worth. If you're running a Goku Black team, like I am, if you're running like this kind of heavy Goku Black kind of team, then yeah, I think, for the most part, it's kind of worth it to run this guy. He is a pretty good buffer for the God Key, with giving, I think he gives strike, attack, and defense, which suits the strike meta right now quite substantially. And then he also, obviously with his Zenkai, buffs red, which is also pretty good. So I do think there's some interest in potentially running this guy as a unit. I think there's definitely, at least for me, there's some interest in putting him on your bench, but I think that's really about it. If your opponent has a heavy yellow based lineup, I think this guy could come into fruition. I think he could be a solid yellow counter. A lot of people are running Team Gohan right now, Future Gohan right now, which, I think this Goku Rose is at least semi-decent against. I do think it's, a little bit challenging for him, because right now Beast Gohan is pretty embedded in the meta, and I think Beast Gohan does give him, obviously being blue, quite a lot of issues, and him not necessarily being the tankiest unit, also quite a lot of issues. But yeah, I think for the most part it is definitely, how can you say, like, I think he's got an okayish place in the meta. I don't think he breaks new ground. He's obviously relatively old now. I think his Zenkai was 4 or 5 months back now. But he still, like you can see here, still does very much, like a good job on the team. Yeah, he tanks semi-decently as well, switching in, which is obviously pretty good. If you can get his Vanishing Gauge, he also tanks relatively decently as well. I mean, he's taking a lot of hits here from, Beast Gohan. It's not like he's dying in one blow. So there is still some kind of, like space for him in the meta. I just don't think it's a big space. I think he's maybe at best a very solid yellow counter, especially if you don't have a half corrupted Zamasu or any of those kind of top or higher standard units. I think he's definitely a decent option there. But yeah, we just basically have to see. But overall, I think, for me at least, he's not necessarily that exciting to use. I think there are some more interesting options that maybe come out that just have a better kit, that kind of works a little bit better with like the overall like expansion of the team. There's that blue Zamasu who recently came out, who I think is just like a lot more solid overall, and I think it's just, basically like a better version of this guy, and he buffs the same way. He buffs future and then god key and regen, and yeah, I just think you get a little bit more out of some of the other banner units nowadays, more so than you're getting out of this guy. But hey, like to each their own. At the end of the day, like it's it is what it is. Some people find it super duper like chill to use a unit like Goku Black. I think as you encroach the higher level gameplay, he is going to let you down. I don't think he can handle some of the top tier teams. I think that's just where he's at the moment. But yeah, I did enjoy using him. I still use him on my team at least. He's nice to buff the half corrupted Zamasu. I think that's a great pickup. And yeah, obviously, people will judge how well he does, but for me, I think he's got a place. At least for me, he's got a place in the team. And I think whether it's as a prime unit, I don't think so, but as a buffer, definitely. And you can, like I say, slot him in when you get those yellow opponents. It helps. Like here, we did some great damage. He's done great damage to all the yellows, which is good. I think you can at least use him as a direct counter to yellow-based units, more so than anything else. And yeah, I think, for the most part, the team's done a pretty good job. I think he's at least held his own. Hasn't looked terrible. Tanked a couple Beast Gohan shots. Didn't instantly die. Wasn't necessarily like the craziest Beast Gohan. It wasn't like he was super duped. But I mean, like, yeah, super duper solid. And yeah, for me, looks very, very good. But overall, Goku Black, good unit. Gameplay wise, nothing too crazy. There's some arts card draw increases and different speeds that you can kind of get him to, especially if you activate, like subbing him in when you're at a certain health threshold. Like if you sub him in and obviously you're below 75%, and then from there you obviously activate his main ability, then you can kind of get like a double dose of arts card draw speed, which does help, but it's a little bit finicky to get right. Like you need to switch him in when you're below 75, and then you need to also vanishing step the unit, which is also super important. And then you also, obviously, after that as well, you need to make sure that when you do that, you get off your support ability to reduce the card costs. Like if you get everything right, like he can look very good. But yeah, I think for the most part, it's a little bit wonky. It's not the smoothest way of getting yourself into like a big combo. Like he's got no real combo-ish abilities. You sub him in, you manage to get a couple of hits, you already have a full hand, you sub him in, you do the support card, and then you get a good combo of maybe 5 or 6 off, but that's really about it. There's nothing too crazy beyond that. And I think that's like why maybe Sparkings and their Zenkais are starting to really fall out. It's just because they are kind of lacking like these big synergy kits. Like the Zenkais don't seem to give them these huge synergy fueled kits that like really blow your mind and bust out new plays and things like that. I think it is a little bit lackluster, basically, the way they kind of put these kits together for some of these Sparkings. Obviously, it's better for some players, I think, than others, but yeah, for the most part, I do just think there's a little bit of a lack of like big synergy that comes with the kits. But overall, this team's doing fine. Obviously, I think Goku Rose, like I said, good damage when you need him to have good damage. Very solid against like yellow units. You can see here struggling a little bit against like obviously a green unit, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not huge. Like, it's not a huge concern. He's just not gonna do that big damage that you maybe expect him to do. Like some of these Goku Black units still to this day, like green Goku Black, does big damage. He does good solid damage. It's just, yeah, I think some of these units you expect them to still be on that level, and he's just not, he's just not really there. It's not really his fault, it's just the way it is. Like, it's just the way everything came together for him as a unit, but at the end of the day, that's fine. But yeah, that is basically going to be it for me. I hope you guys obviously enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, it'll be greatly appreciated. But yeah, I will definitely see you guys obviously in the next one. Let me know if you use Goku Rose or if you don't, and if you do, if you have any suggestions to improve his build, that's always great to leave on the video. Yeah, that's it from me. Bye.